Hey guys, welcome back to Crash Course with Nothing podcast. I'm your host Yusuf.
I'm your co-host Vin.
And today we have a special guest. We're joined by Noah Loy. She's our videographer and our editor. We're so grateful to have her. Noah, tell us more about you and how's second year been, first of all?
So I am going into my third year of biochem. So I am in front of the camera today. And it'll probably be the only episode where I'm on the side of the camera. So I'm the one that's recording, editing, uploading for all these guys here. So a little bit about me. I'm doing a lot of things right now. I've applied to a lot of clubs this year, or like for my incoming third year. So I've been working with the McMaster Science Society as a photographer for them, as well as a creative ambassador for the Biochemistry and Biomedical Science Society. So I've been trying to get more into clubs that deal a lot with my hobbies, such as photography and social media.
Something I actually wanted to delve in was, obviously you do like videography and editing. What inspired you to start in that?
Probably in middle school. I was part of the art council at my middle school, and then from there we had like a photography session, and that's where I initially got into photography. So then in like grade 7 or 8, I actually bought this camera that we're recording with now, and I just started taking photos from there. And I really like just going out and taking photos of like nature and whatever I saw, and especially like I recently got more so into like portrait photography, so taking photos of people and just learning more about like different compositions and how to actually use a camera, because back then I kind of just had a camera just to press the shutter button, but now it's more so like I actually know how to work with ISOs, aperture, and all that little stuff with cameras. So yeah,
it's really cool. I remember you did the Wes Anderson thing for us.
Yeah, Mills.
Yeah.
That was actually nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. I think like my brother watched it too, and he was like, "Yeah, you're like one of the only people that actually got it right." He's a huge Wes Anderson guy, so he was like talking about that as well. But
that was also for me the point where I was like, oh wow, like Noah's pretty good at this, and I was like, you know what, we're gonna do
Thank you.
But I think in university in general, when we talk about clubs, I think what do you think is very important to join these clubs? Do you think you gain experience, or you might grow and gain opportunities from it? Or?
I mean, I like just joined these clubs, so I don't really have like much to say. But I think so far, being able to like attend meetings and just talk to my other executive teams is really. It feels, especially in the summer when we're not all in Hamilton, it's kind of nice to still connect with other students and just to kind of have a purpose, I guess, since we're all working towards some kind of common goal at the end of the day. So that's pretty nice. But I am looking forward to like actually coming back to Hamilton in the fall to actually work and probably go to like in-person meetings and like events and stuff. So
I think like that's a huge thing with clubs. It kind of makes university a lot more engaging in a sense, because if you're like not involved in any clubs or anything extracurricular wise, and you're constantly just doing like academics, and it can get a little stressful at times, and your vision can narrow into just that. And I think clubs is a good way to kind of broaden that horizon. And I can plug Dragon Boat again, but
shout out Devo.
But that's basically how it's been like for me at Dragon Boat, just meeting new people. And you get to broaden the entire community, and you get to see who is in this community.
I think it's very important, just like you guys spoke about. Like, it's very important to join clubs and put yourself out there, and you get to meet different people, and you gain tons of experiences. And I think another thing that we tend to forget is that, in university, we're obviously here to study and do our best to achieve high grades and, make our parents proud in a way or another. But also, I think it's really important to focus on your health. Your mental health, especially doing these activities and like switching it up every now and then. You don't want to burn out, and I think especially when midterm season comes around the corner, exam season, we don't get as much sleep, and we're just like grinding to like do good on these exams. Which also brings me back to the point of also a routine. I think joining clubs and extracurricular activities builds on the fact that you build this good routine for yourself every single day. You're like, okay, I have to study from this hour to this hour, and then make time for this club. Maybe I need to organize something for the, you know, directors that I'm working with, or whatever it may be. And I think it just gives you the sense of responsibility that we tend to maybe lack if we don't have this pressure to, or not pressure, I'd say, like if we don't have something in our schedule to push us to do things, we may get lazy and we may diverge into doing nothing in our day, which can lead to unproductivity. And I think it's very important to go about that. But in terms of, I think, scoring good on your exams, I think we've all struggled to not do good sometimes, which is fine. I think every student goes through, right? Yeah. And I think it's a learning process. But I think for me, I reached a point where I had to understand that maybe there's nothing wrong with me essentially, but there's the way I'm studying is really beneficial.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like when we go to class, what we do, like we get notes and stuff, and then we read them, and it's, I think, maybe just useless because at the end of the day we forget them after we're done. And I think that brings me back to study habits. And I don't know if you guys want to share your opinions, but like if you want to give some tips out there, like how would you guys improve maybe your studying concentration to like maybe achieve a better grade?
I think like with study habits, like it's important to understand that everyone has their own different kind of, whatever works for them doesn't necessarily work for others. And that also still connects back to routines where it's like maybe your day isn't the same as someone else's day. For example, like I'll get up pretty early and like I'm an early bird. Like I wouldn't say I like getting up early. It's just I'm
you
up,
don't
so.
sleep. You still sleep.
Yeah, like I'm up early, so my day starts earlier than most. So during the school year, I'd usually, I usually work out in the mornings. But I guess like nowadays, heading into second year, I'm thinking about using the morning time to study a bit more, and then at nighttime working out. That's just something I'm trying to play with. But essentially, like my study schedule in first year, I'll talk about first semester because my schedule in second semester was a little all over the place. But first semester, I'd essentially go to the gym at like 8:30 or 9 in the morning. I'd finish before 11-ish. And then I'd have class, depending on the day, I'd sometimes have morning classes, but if I don't, I'd work out. And then I'd do a certain portion of studying in the afternoon. Studying mean like review. With nursing, like we have a lot of, I'd say the only course I had to study for first semester was anatomy, but everything else is more so just review. And then we have class on certain blocks of time, and then more review. And then at night, I'd either go back to the gym or continue studying. But that was essentially first year. But then with Dragon Boat, with clubs, like it specifically, I had to do a lot more time in second semester, just because I felt like I got a lot more into it then.
So that's give it more time.
Exactly, yeah. And that's when I had to really start blocking out my schedule, and it's important to like stick with that schedule because
might diverge away. Right?
Yeah, when I didn't stick with the schedule, everything was really hectic. Like I was going from place to place, like. And then it was difficult to find proper time to study, and then exam season rolled around. Yeah. And I remember you remember like the day before my psych exam.
Yeah, it was a stressful day.
It was a stressful day, but
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean that's how my schedule or routine usually is like. But what about
you, Noah?
Yeah, so I think in terms of study habits, it so depends on the course. Like I would say courses like organic chemistry is it's one of those courses where you just need to practice.
Every day.
Yeah, pretty much like every day you need to do the practice questions. But I think it's so important, instead of like, it doesn't matter how many questions you do, it's more so whether you understand them or not. Because you can do 100 with like, and this is something I used to do a lot, where I would tell myself to get through like 20 to 30 questions just for the sake of doing them, because I thought that doing that many questions would be beneficial for me. But then at the end of the day, it was more so like I just kind of breezed through them, and it didn't really matter to me whether I either understood the question. It was more so like if I got the right answer at the end of the day, it was fine. But I kind of realized it didn't really work because I didn't understand anything. So it's so much more, I guess, efficient and beneficial for you to just actually like take your time to think about the question, even if it takes 30 minutes, because I know that would kill like your mental. Like if I struggled 30 minutes on a question, I would like I would go insane. And it's just not great for the mental, but at the same time it's so beneficial because at the end of the day you learn so much, you understand the content so much better because you actually figured it out. And then I guess for like scheduling, I'm also like first like fall and winter was so different because I would say in the fall I was so much more independent and more like less social than I was. Yeah. So I had a lot more time to myself to actually like take time to do things on my own. So like in the morning, like I would kind of just get ready on my own time, go to class, and go to the gym whenever I wanted to. And then same with studying. It was kind of like I would study like after my classes. But then I think as I got more social, like especially during second term when I met you guys, because I think I lacked that social aspect so much in the fall when I met you guys. In the winter, it was just I wanted to spend all of my time with you guys, and like I wanted to kind of almost make up that social aspect that I lacked in the fall. So I was always just constantly out of my house, and I honestly kind of like that too. It keeps me busy, and it feels like I am productive, even though I'm not sometimes. But that's okay. So I think after like spending so much time like either like the social groups and then being by myself so much in the fall, I think now like going into my third year where marks kind of matter more because my GPA kind of matters because I want to go to med school. But so I think now like going to third year, I'm a little bit more aware of like how much time I should be allocating towards my studies and then with like my friends and stuff.
That's very important.
I definitely agree. Like second semester, like commons, we were productive and then we were not productive.
Okay, but like to be fair, we were there for like 8 hours, so it's not like we can spend 8 hours studying. So like it's good that like it was probably like a 50-50. Like I would say almost like there were like a couple hours where like we would like stop to eat and then a couple minutes here and there just to talk. But I think at the end of the day we were relatively like productive.
I think
it's not the whole time we were there, which I think it's okay.
The good thing was like we kind of, if someone wanted to like kind of just do their own thing and go study off, like they go to sixth floor. It's like what him and Maceo always did. It's like
used to go to sixth floor.
Anytime like they needed to like actually fully grind, they'd go to sixth floor. But a lot of us did that. Like if we needed a quieter space, then we'd go
sixth floor. Shout out sixth floor. But I think something I wanted to jump into was quality over quantity. So I think it's really important to allocate, just like you guys said, it's really important to allocate your time properly. And I think that's what brings me to Pomodoro technique. This thing saves lives, okay? Honestly, it does. It does save lives. Because like I used to study for 8 hours, 7 hours, and most of the time it's unproductive, inefficient. I'm not focused at all. And just like you said, actually you brought up very strong point where you spoke about how you solve the questions, but you're not really knowing what is going on. But you're like, okay, I got the right answer, so I might as well just continue.
Move on,
right? But I think if you solve 5 questions, or at least let's say 1 exam paper instead of the 3 exam papers, but you solve that 1 exam paper in a way where you've understood it completely, you're better off than solving all 3 papers not knowing exactly what happened in all those 3 papers, right? So it's very important to know what you're doing when you're studying and be very like intentional with what you're gonna be doing today and what you're gonna be finishing. There's a lot of times where I was gonna study and I got confused too much. Like I was like, okay, I have 5 subjects. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna do this or this? Or because I had to study everything basically, right? And it's like you need to know, all right, maybe I should allocate 2 hours for this today, for let's say, I don't know, microeconomics, just because I'm an econ, right? Or like macroeconomics, 2 hours, and then move on to something else. And I think Pomodoro, forced time pressure for me to be like, okay, I got 2 hours. It's essentially like 15 minutes, 10-minute break. I usually go like that because I like longer breaks. So I work for a longer period. So 15 minutes and then 10-minute breaks. And then I, just continue doing that. And you basically kind of, doing that, you get more like quality work done. And I think it's crucial that you do that. And at the end of the day, we as students can't just be studying all the day. It's so like, because it doesn't make sense to do that, right? You need to do other things to like keep your brain working properly. And at the end of the day, if you just keep studying, you'll burn out. Unless you love studying, which I mean, good for you. That's nice.
I wish.
That's interesting. I don't know about that.
I wish.
But yeah, I definitely think Pomodoro technique does help.
Yeah.
For anybody who struggles to focus, like me, do Pomodoro. I think it's gonna be a game changer. And
I mean, if Pomodoro also doesn't work for you, like what I use, because I tried Pomodoro, and for me it's like I have like certain bursts of like focus where it's like I can focus for like 3 hours straight, and then I can't focus for like another 12 hours, and I'm like, oh god.
have a walk.
Exactly. So what I do is like I'd work until like I find myself not being able to produce as much quality like work, and then I'd either like go on a walk, or during exam season I'd take like a 15 to 20 minute break, and I'd watch like an episode of a K-drama. Yo, that was my thing. That was my thing. Let me tell you, biochem. Like the only reason I did as well as I did in like the one class I was really struggling in was because I started using this technique. But the walks, and I mean in the winter it's kind of you don't really want to go outside, but like I'd kind of like find spots on campus that looked nice, and I'd just stand there for like 5 minutes and just like look out, and then I'd walk back. Or like some days I just watch the K-drama if I really did want to go outside.
Interesting thing, actually. What is your favorite K-drama? I actually want to know. I think everybody wants to know that. What is your favorite?
Oh man,
Give me top 3.
Oh god, that's so hard. I don't know if you guys have watched Itaewon Class.
Yeah, it was hard for me to get into though, because I really hated the main character, the main guy's haircut, because it was just a straight line, like so far up his forehead. I really didn't like it, so that was the only reason I couldn't get into it. But then all of my friends were watching it, and they said it was really good, so then I kind of just tried to get over his hair, and I finished it, and it was good. But
I will say something. I actually love this hair, and I got the haircut.
No, because my friend also loves his hair. I don't understand that he hated it.
No, but I remember my dad was so mad because I got his haircut, and it was like, it's literally this straight down.
And just like a line across the forehead.
It's like a bowl cut and a buzz cut.
Oh my god.
It's like all in one. So I like.
Oh, okay.
I really like that one.
Is it like the French crop?
I don't know what that is. Okay. But I like that, and 2 other ones. Summer Strike. It's like a recent one from this year. You should go check it out. And I'm blanking on the other one. It's one about a hospice.
What about Business Proposal?
Oh, that was good.
That was good.
That one.
Yeah, it was like I thought it was cute. Like I'm not like super into like rom-coms, but it was okay.
Oh, by the way, Bloodhound. Y'all should watch that. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But
anyways, getting back into it.
I think damn, I lost the thought.
It's all good. We're just like, I think with study habits, it's also important to talk about balance. Again, we were talking about extracurriculars before, now studying, and just overall balancing time, your social time, your personal time, and then your academic time. I think it's very important, and essentially, like for me, first year was figuring out how to actually balance those times together. And for me, kind of understanding how I balance those was one of the ways to just positively impact my mental health. Because I find if it's not balanced, and let's say you have one more than the other, and then you start to fall behind on like either your personal or academic, or your academic and your personal time, it will affect your mental health, and you'll kind of feel more pressured to kind of catch up and do things. I think if FOMO is a huge thing, fear of missing out. Like every university student feels it. I mean, I'd say most. I don't know if everyone feels it, but I know for sure I did. You kind of feel that pressure to make the social events that everyone's making, and it's like if you don't make it, you're missing out on something big. And I was struggling with that a lot in second semester as well, but at the end of the day, like I had to remember about it's all about prioritizing what's important to you, and in that moment, what's important. So if you literally have an exam the next week, like maybe you should prioritize what you need to do for the exam first, and then if you have time left over, then spend doing like other like social things that you want. But yeah, that's just FOMO.
Another thing that you spoke about was mental health, and I think it's really important to, especially when it comes to grades. We often stress out so much on the idea of, you know, getting this perfect grade and what happens if we don't. And when we end up with the truth of not getting that grade, you feel a bit disappointed and you start doubting yourself. And I think we've all been in that position at one point in our lives. But I think what's more important is to understand and take a step back into why that happened and learn from it instead of just doubting yourself, because it's never going to get you anywhere. And I'm not telling you to like get over it or it doesn't matter or that, you know, you definitely have every right to feel some way, but you should not make it as if it's like the end of the world. It's never the end of the world. As long as you're living and they have a chance to, you know, make it up, you'll make it up. And it's just a learning experience that everybody goes through. Everybody has dealt with disappointments in life, and it's part of growth and it's part of who we are as human beings, right? Nothing ever goes to plan, actually. Like you can plan something, you can plan to get an A, and maybe you're not going to get an A, but it's okay. As long as you've tried your best, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because your value is way much, I think, important, and it's not comparable to a letter or a grade that is given on a piece of paper. I think you can add to that as well.
I think like the grades part, especially when it comes to like midterm season and exam season, it's so easy to, because like the whole term we're working, since most of our courses are like midterms and exams, we're always working towards those. And I find that because we're always working towards those, it's like we're putting so much time and our energy into working for this one letter grade, and it's so easy to just fall into this loop of, or like just this fixation on like just passing. And I think I've learned this during my first year, especially like having mostly 2 midterms and an exam for my courses. It was so, I kind of realized that one midterm won't hurt, because I'm not gonna lie, during my first year chem course, I think that was the first midterm was the very first midterm or test or anything that I've failed. Like I didn't pass at all. And I was so, and it was probably like the first exam that I've cried about, because I opened that grade and I saw that 40% and I just started crying, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna pass the course, and I'm not gonna be doing well, and I'm not gonna get into like the second year specialization that I want to get in. But at the end of the day, I still worked towards like the next one or like the next assignment, and even though I got that 40 on that one midterm, at the end of the day my final grade was still relatively good. But I also think that's because of there's like options in that course to reweigh your grades. So instead of having like 20% on each midterm, you can actually move the percentages around so that your better midterm counts for more. But it's also, that was also kind of lucky for me, because not all courses have that here, and it's so dependent on the prof. But I feel like now, like when there's so much like content heavy courses like bio, profs are a little bit more lenient on like reweighing if like so many students fail, because we're at the end of the day, we're so many students, like especially like in like STEM and like science, there's hundreds of kids in these classes, and it's so, and not everyone is like a straight A student. So at the end of the day, like one midterm is not going to hurt, and you can always ask to either have things reweighed or have an extra something. And like at the end of the day, it really does, because, and I learned that too, like first year. So your grade one midterm was not going to hurt you at all.
I think it's all about, because like in university we're all pressured to perform level, and I think this brings me back to, I think something you said recently about, when you like studied anatomy this summer, and you found like it's not that pressuring, because you're not like pressured by university to do an exam or anything.
Let's just say like off camera, I was talking about how maybe testing isn't the greatest way to kind of test learning, because for me it was like I find assignments a lot better because it's active learning, and you're actively learning something while producing a certain result, or you're looking for a certain result. Whereas with testing, you memorize something and you spend like a week or 2 weeks or like a whole month memorizing for a test. You write that test or exam, and then a couple days later you forget everything. And then you have new information coming in that you need to study, memorize, and then learn and test again. And sure, it works for some people, and I'm sure there's a reason why it's still in place. But I do find that a lot of people that I talk to also agree with the fact that they actually don't really learn too much through testing. And what I was saying about studying anatomy in the summer is like, once the summer started, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was like, I really didn't know what to do. And then I saw my Anki cards, and I was like, oh, let me just look through these cards. And I once I started looking through them, I was like, wow, this is actually really interesting. And then now I have more interest in it, and I feel like I'm learning a lot more now. And I think that just brings me to the point of like taking it at your own pace. Definitely. It's like when you're studying for tests and you're studying for everything, memorizing will help you get that grade you want, maybe even cramming the night before. I know a lot of people that cram the night before and like 12 a course, and I'm like,
not me.
Like, yeah,
I cannot.
Not me anymore.
But they don't actually learn anything from it, right?
Yeah.
So active studying techniques like interleaving your subjects, and maybe even blocking out like certain long periods of time,
like active recall.
Active recall and long periods of time where you're studying, maybe like even like an hour a day for 2 weeks is more beneficial than studying 8 hours 3 days before an exam. And I think that's just comes to like individual aspects of like what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
This brings me actually to an important thing. I used to write notes in class. I actually stopped writing notes, and I started using flashcards. So I started like going through the lecture notes that the prof like hands out, and instead of just like going to class, like writing notes and then going back and then rereading the notes, which I mean, at least for me it didn't work. For some people it might work. I ended up just going to class, like understanding the material. If there's something I didn't understand, usually profs have like recorded lectures. So I used to like, if there's something I don't understand, I rewatch the lecture. And then I make like flashcards, and then every single day I just open them. I use Remnote. I don't know if a lot of people have heard about it. It's actually by this like group of people. I think they're called Cajun Koi. They're like med school. They're actually 2 students who are in the med school right now, and I've actually learned a lot from them, so shout out to them. They're great, and they're actually one of the reasons where they kind of inspired me to do my own content from watching their YouTube videos. But anyways, like I think they really emphasize on active recall and how important it is, instead of just like rereading the notes, because at the end of the day, just like you said, you reread the notes, you cram everything, you memorize everything, you go to the exam, you finish it. The next day, everything is gone from your brain. You do not remember everything. You need to understand at the end of the day, you need to give your brain time. It's like a memory machine. You need to give it time to like absorb the material and like recall it. And I think this kind of helps building a strong foundation to remember stuff. And but for those people who I think are curious about should they take a gap year, or if they want to go into university, what kind of tips I think would you guys give them if they're maybe concerned about what to do at their stage?
So I guess like for me, more so why I chose university, because like I had the option of, for me, like not necessarily pursuing university. If that wasn't a path that wasn't for me, I wouldn't have pursued it. Because originally I wanted to go full-time in the Army, and that's originally what I was planning on doing. But for me, really why I chose university was, in order to be a RN, like a registered nurse, you do have to go to university. But also, I have this opportunity, I have this privilege to be able to go to university. I have the means. I have the money to go to university and the time to go to university. For me, it's I wanted to see where it would take me, and kind of what this higher level of education was all about. Again, like university is not for everyone. Like if you don't want to go to university, it's fine. Like like university or college, like it doesn't matter. Like essentially whatever works for you and wherever you want to head in whatever path you want to head in your life, that's what you should pursue.
Definitely.
And for me, the only reason I'm in university is because the path I want to pursue directly leads through university. And that's essentially just why. But if you're thinking of taking a gap year, I have a lot of friends in high school that took gap years, and a lot of them tell me how it was a great time for them to just kind of rest and also think about what they're really interested in, what their interests are. And a bunch of my friends that did that ended up finding something that they were really passionate about and then wanted to pursue, whether that involved university, college, or not. So,
What about you, Noah?
I think, generally speaking now, I think it's almost like the social norm to go to university. And not even just because you want to pursue something that may require university, but I think it's just that pressure and almost like now like the new social norm to go to university. And well, I specifically for me, I'm kind of in the same place where my career goals does require me to go to university, so I do want to go to med school, and if not, I do want to go into pharmacy, if that's kind of like my backup kind of. So, and that also still requires me to go to university. So personally for me, I kind of have to go to uni just to end up as a pharmacist or a doctor, wherever I end up going. But I think generally speaking, I think there's just, like a lot of pressure to go to the university, and I think there's almost kind of like a misconception about university that if I go to university, and if I get a degree, I'm gonna have a good paying job, which is very much not the case, because I know so many people, even in university, are still worried about finding a job, and because it is hard to find even just a good paying job, especially for science students, because there's not a lot of opportunities, I guess. It's a lot of like, and even when I'm speaking on this, I don't even have that much knowledge about what's after university. And there's just not, I guess we're not really exposed so much unless we actually actively look for them. So I think gap years, unlike you, I don't know that many people that took gap years, but I think it is a really good time to take some time for yourself. And it does seem a little scary because everyone now is applying they're all going to like university or college or whatever, and it's like you feel almost left out that you're not doing what everyone else is doing. But at the end of the day, like university or college or whatever, it's not for everybody, and I think it's so important to, even though you're pressured to really prioritize yourself. But I think also a lot of people do it because I guess maybe it could be like for their parents, because I know a lot of us, and me too, like my parents came here from, they're not here, they're not from Canada, so they came here when they were young, they did the university here, and I think there's also kind of like a pressure on us in our generation
to do well
and to almost give back to our parents that have done so much for us to be able to bring us here for like a better life, better education, so that we don't have to live and go through the struggles that they may have had to gone through. And so I think that's also why so many of us are at university. So like there's so many different like reasons why, and it's like, but there's just there's no pressure also to like, you don't have to, because there's just so many ways to make some sort of income, even though in this economy it's not looking too great.
Honestly.
I can agree with that completely, in terms of having like being an immigrant as well, because my parents are not from here. Well, I'm technically not from here either. I'm a first generation immigrant, so kind of just university also gave me that drive to kind of make sure that what I'm doing was kind of paying off what they sacrificed.
Definitely.
Because like I don't think I fully understood the sacrifice until I got older, and I was like, I have all of these things, I have a life here, but if I wanted to go somewhere else for my children, then I have to leave all of this behind. And I think kind of for me personally, like I felt like I had the duty to uphold that and kind of just find the best path for myself while also being happy. It's important to understand that, yeah, you want to do things for your parents and make them happy and pay them back for what they did, but I think regardless of how they would react, they want you to be happy.
Yeah.
So whatever makes you happy will make them happy, and whatever leads you to have a good life, whatever your definition of that, is what's important. So going straight off of moving away from your home, I guess you can relate to that as an international student. So if you just want to talk about some of your experiences.
Yeah, obviously, since I'm an international student, it's kind of hard, but, being away from your parents. But I think I've gotten used to it. Obviously, first semester was really hard because, being with your parents since a young age, and just obviously, like, being in that household, and then understanding that you have to go by yourself and figure out your whole future, it's hard. But as we've spoken previously, is that I think I just want to make my parents proud in any way or form, in any shape or form, and doing what I love, I think, is gonna do that for them. And I obviously want to take care of them as they grow older, because they took care of me, and I think that's the least I can do, honestly, because at the end of the day, life can be hard, and they've obviously had their challenges to raising me, and being able to afford bringing me here, and obviously as international students, it's not that cheap as like you guys, right? It's really expensive. So, but as I've spoken previously, is that with it comes growth, and I've gotten to learn a lot from you guys and all my friends, obviously, and. True, you can't see your parents all the time, and if I'm having a problem, I obviously have to FaceTime them. But there's obviously the hour difference, there's I think 13 hours difference.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a
ahead. Are they?
Oh no, actually 7 hours, I think. Yeah. Obviously, as I've said, it's not as easy being an international student, but I think everybody has their own struggles, and when you understand that you're not alone and everybody's going through something, it becomes a bit more easier. And I always look up to my parents and feel like I need to be the best version of myself for them, because at the end of the day, I need to be there for them when they're older, right? It's a responsibility on us to take care of our parents later on, I think, and I'm a big, advocate of that, just because, they've done so much, and I'm very blessed to have them. But I don't know if, Finn, do you want to add anything on top of that?
Yeah, I guess in terms of relating to that as well, a lot of my relatives are in Sri Lanka, basically everyone except for my parents and us. So even talking to my grandma, because me and my grandma are very close. She raised us for majority of our lives. So it's whenever I have the time to talk to her, it's hard to find the time though, because the time difference.
Definitely.
Especially during school days when I need to go to bed at a certain time, and I'm I need to get certain hours of sleep, but then I some days I'll just stay up and be able to talk to her, and then I'm reminded of how grateful I am as well. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. Of course, there are times when maybe we have disagreements with our parents or even our siblings or family. But at the end of the day, we come together and work through those, right? So, I guess that's the only thing I'd have to add.
I think what we can all understand from this, conversation is that, number one, things never go our way, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It does sound harsh, but things never go our way, but it works out. It works out, and I think when things don't go our way, we get better things along the way, and that's how life works. And I think when you understand that that's it, you'll move on, and life will seem a bit more brighter on the other side, I think. And that you'll obviously face struggles with anything, but with those struggles, you can tend to become a stronger person for the people that might come into your life later on, and you'll be a stronger person for them, and for even your parents, as we spoke, and I think it's very important that we endure these trials, because it makes us who we are, and with those we may get inspired to do things with our lives that are meaningful and can leave a good footprint for society. And so
take care of yourself.
Yeah,
remember to take care of yourself along the way.
Mental health is important. I think nowadays in society, we're brainwashed to think that just work nonstop, and burn yourself out, and nobody cares about you, and but that's just like bad mentality to have. Sure, maybe nobody cares exactly like in that sense, but like at the end of the day, everybody is focused on their own life, and that's exactly what it means. It doesn't mean like people like don't really care about you, but it's because everybody's too caught up in their own lives that they tend to forget about others in a way. But I think it doesn't harm to always get out of your way to remember others and just call them, one phone call away, just like, and just call them and just tell them that you love them, because you never know when it's your last day on this earth, and this is the truth of this reality, right? Of this world. But yeah, so
ended on a deep note. Right?
Yeah, I don't want to end it on a deep note, but I think it's just good to leave you guys with this and like let you guys know that there's more to life than grades and feeling sorry for yourself. Because if you're gonna feel sorry for yourself, it's just, that's on you, because nobody's gonna help you out of that. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you. So stop feeling sorry for yourself. You have to be the best friend of you, and when you do that, you'll be a tougher person on the other side. And I think it's crucial that we all get to that. But anyways, what I want to say is thank you for tuning into this episode. Let us know what you guys want in the comments below. We're more likely to talk about things that you guys would want us to delve into and bring to the table. So yeah, is there anything you guys want to say before?
Don't forget to press that big thumbs up, that button that says subscribe, and spread the word.
Right.
Crash Course is crashing on you, so let's get to it.
Don't forget to follow all of our socials at Crash Course on Nothing. Some of our handles have podcasts, so look out for that. But we're all on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and Spotify. So go follow us. Go give us a like.
See you guys on the next episode.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.